Yeah. Thank you. Are you going to be available?
It's next week.
The 20th. Yeah. Clear. Absolutely. Exactly. No. Very shocked. He was doing so well, and then I didn't say anything about him.
When you going up north?
A week from this Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so a week from tomorrow.
Shabbat shalom. Hine,
Hine,
Matov,
Mato,
Uma,
Uma,
Naim,
Naim,
Shevet Achim, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. Hine,
Hine,
Matov,
Mato,
Uma,
Uma,
Naim,
Naim,
Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. Hine, Matov,
Hine, Mato,
Uma, Naim,
Uma, Naim,
Shevet Achim,
Shevet Achim,
Gam Yachad.
Gam Yachad,
Hine, Matov,
Hine, Mato,
Uma, Naim,
Uma, Naim,
Shevet Achim,
Shevet Achim,
Gam Yachad.
Gam Yachad.
Hine ma tov u'manaim, Shevet Achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manaim, Shevet Achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, Shevet Achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, Shevet Achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manaim, Shevet Achim gam yachad.
Let's turn to the middle of page 124 of our prayer books and page 1 of the Satellite Siddur for those joining us by live stream, and we'll read together. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Good evening and almost Shabbat Shalom. Well, we're into our 8th week of summer Shabbat services, but who's counting? Not me. It's crazy how time flies, really. I welcome all of you joining our Shabbat services tonight. I hope you had a great week as we come together to celebrate Shabbat as a family. For those joining via live stream, I hope you found the Satellite Siddur so that you can participate in tonight's service. So, let's make tonight's Shabbat official by inviting Heather Greenfield to light our Sabbath candles as we rise, and turn to page 120 of our prayer books or page 1 of the Satellite Siddur. You're welcome.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Let's read together. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'had l'ner shel Shabbos. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner
להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen. Please be seated. Let's turn to page 125 of our prayer books. Where has the week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished? Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Let's read together. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. May these Shabbat hours of rest and renewal, now begun, open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise for us all.
And we continue on page 138 in Mishkan Tefillah, page 2 in the Satellite Siddur with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Last verse. Boi v'shalom ma'ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi, lecha dodi לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. And in Mishkan Tefillah, page 144, we continue responsively. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, be'alma divarach hirute, ve'amlich malchute, b'chayechan u'v'yomechan u'v'chayed kol beit Yisrael. Bagala, ובזמן קריב, ואימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מברך, לעולם ולעלמי עולמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא, ויתהדר, ויתעלה, ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Amen. As we rise, we turn the page for the call to worship. Mitch and I with the first line, and you all come in for the second line. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed.
Let's turn to the top of page 149, page 3 of the Satellite Siddur. Praise to you, Adonai our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Together, Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, for whom the evening flows.
And I seal what you just said. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv ha'ramim.
Amen. So now let's turn to the middle of page 150 of our prayer book, and we'll read together. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvah, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our day. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
And once again, I seal what you said. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. And at the risk of being redundant, the Shema we say loudly because it appears in the Torah. The Baruch Shem line was added centuries later by our sages. And we continue back to the Torah with Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ene asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kishartam le'od ayadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. Ani Adonai Elohechem. And yet again, I seal what we all said. Adonai Elohechem. And then we all join in on Emet.
Let us turn to the top of page 157 in our prayer books, or page 5 of the Satellite Siddur. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, and together, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Page 158 and page 5. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Mi chamoch ba'elim Adonai, mi kamoch nadam b'kodesh, nocha tehilon osefele, nocha tehilon osefele. Malechutecha ra'u vonecha. בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זעיני ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Ya la 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 la. Ya la la la. Ya la 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 la.
Let's turn to the middle of page 161, bottom of page 5 in the Satellite Siddur. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Together, watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours.
Baruch atah Adonai hapori sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo ve'al Yerushalayim shalom ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai hapori sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. And in Mishkan Tefillah, we turn to page 162, and we stay where we are in Satellite Siddur. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
New moon? No. As we turn to the tefillah, the core of our Shabbat service, I ask that you please rise as we turn to page 164 in our prayer books, page 7 in the satellite Siddur. Either read silently through page 179 or say internally whatever you're feeling at this time. We'll come back together once everyone is seated.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
To worship is to stand in awe under a heaven of stars, before a flower, a leaf in the sunlight, or a grain of sand. To worship is to work with dedication and skill. It is to pause from work and listen to the strain of music. Worship is loneliness seeking communion. It is a thirsty land crying out for rain. Worship is kindred fire in our hearts. It moves through deeds of kindness and acts of love. Worship is the mystery within us, reaching out to the mystery beyond. It is an inarticulate silence, yearning to speak. It is the window of the moment open to the sky of the eternal. Please turn to the middle of page 371 of your prayer book, page 9 in the Satellite Siddur. The Misha Berach prayer is for those who are in need of healing. Healing of mind, healing of body, healing of spirit, healing for national or international upheaval, or for any need whatsoever. We have been asked to offer prayers for our JCMI members and families. Leah Jacobson, Joan and Bert Thompson, and again, it's always great to see you here week after week. Keep it coming. Bert Posner, Roberta Schwartz, Jane Barron, Joanne Blau, Shirley Posner, Larry Satcher, Tony Pinto, Beth Pavlo, Beth, good to see you, Irv too, Stephen Roberts, Aaron Alter, Herb Wallach. And our JCMI friends and extended family, Tal Ora Bat Shara, Ron Derone, Robert D'Onofrio, John Vernon, Chaela Monasterio, Julie Fitzgerald, Susan Donahue, Margaret Gallivan, Pamela Michael, Gary Singer, Marianne Mulligan, Peter Giori, Linda Gayon, Christy Raymond, Brandon Ben Sharon, Roger Andruski, Edward Margulies, Teddy Emerson, Nicole Jacobs, Stephen Dukeman, Rosa Footlick, Barbara Kretschmar, Jay Ormland, Mary Finisand, Pete Carochi, Henry Berner, Bill Kuhnson, Denise Sparks, Lenora Savannah, Lisa Singer, Debbie Juris. Please raise your hand if you would like to add anybody to the list. Heather?
Ruth Ann Martin, and Chris Martin, son.
Anyone else? So please join Cantor Harry in singing the Misha Berach prayer.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Tonight, I invite Charlie Blum for tonight's Kiddush and Hamotzi as we rise and turn to page 123 of our prayer book, page 10 in the Satellite Siddur.
This seventh day is consecrated to the eternal God. On Shabbat, eternal sign of creation, we remember that we are created in the divine image. We therefore raise the cup in thanksgiving. Let us read together at the top of the page Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tzion mitzrayim, ki vanu b'chata ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
So Charlie, if you wouldn't mind scooting over there and cutting up a little bit of island challah there, I know he's excited.
I shall let you do the honors. Oh, that was good. I shall let you do the honors.
And let's do our blessing before we carry on with this. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lachem min haaretz b'tei avon.
I'll hand it to you.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. This week's parasha is going to be a repeat performance by one of our congregants, and that would be Dr. Jonathan Greenfield. And this week's parasha, Shalach Lecha.
Shalach Lecha, or Send for You. This is the 37th weekly Torah portion, Numbers 13:1 to 15:45. It's also called Scouts Back to the Desert. This part of the Torah is compared to the story of a king who looked far and wide and found a wife for his son. The girl was wise and beautiful. She came from a rich and noble family. The king told the prince, "I have found a fine wife." But the prince did not trust his father. He said, "Let me go and see her." This greatly annoyed the king. The king said to himself, "What shall I do? If I say I will not show her to you, then he will think she's awful. That is why he doesn't want me to show her." At last the king said to his prince, "Go and see her, and then you will know I have not lied to you. But because you had no faith in me, you shall never have her for your wife. Instead, I will give her to your son." Adonai knew that the land of Canaan was perfect, but the Israelites did not trust Adonai completely. They needed to see it for themselves. So Moses sent out 12 chiefs from the 12 tribes. These were not trained scouts, but just leaders. When they returned, two of them, Joshua and Caleb, claimed that the land in Canaan was the land of milk and honey. If Adonai is pleased with us, Adonai will bring us into that land and give it to us. Only you must not rebel against it. Adonai. But the other 10 reported that the people in Canaan were giants, living in cities too strong to be conquered by the Israelites. They did not believe that Adonai would be on their side. The Israelites refused to listen to Joshua and Caleb. They even threatened with their lives, and they would stone them. Adonai spoke to Moses and Aaron. "How much longer shall that wicked community keep muttering against me?" Moses pleaded with Adonai not to destroy the people. Adonai said, "Your children shall not know the land they have rejected. You shall bear your punishment and go back to the desert for 40 years, equaling the number of days your scouts were in the land I promised you." This is similar to the king giving the bride to his son. The children would see the land of Israel, but not the parents. By the way, those who came back and were against Adonai died of plague, but Aaron and Caleb survived and were allowed to go into Israel after 40 years in the desert. A small band of Israelites tried anyway, and they were immediately destroyed. Regarding the comment about land of milk and honey, in the hills of Judea, there were loads of forests filled with thousands of wild goats, valued for their milk, and date palms valued for their honey. As a matter of fact, the emblem of the Ministry of Tourism of modern state of Israel is a cluster of grapes so large that it is being carried by 2 men. Shalach Lecha ends with a number of laws. One of them speaks about challah offering, setting aside the first yield of your baking for Adonai. Ladies, remember that when you're baking the sale. Don't forget. Today we think of the last law of Shalach Lecha as the most important. And the law says, "Speak to the Israelites and instruct them to make for themselves fringes, tzitzis, on the corners of their garments. The corners should be dyed in blue. Look at them and be reminded of all the commandments of Adonai and observe them so you do not follow your heart and eyes to do evil. Thus you shall be reminded to do all my commandments and be holy to your God." Nowadays, some Jews wear tzitzis all the time, but most wear fringes only on the tallis. In olden days, they used to they had blue dye on the fringes, but today the blue and white are the colors of Israel. Also, when saying the Shema prayer on Shabbat, the tzitzis are gathered in your hand to remind you of God's laws. Hasidic teachings tell us that the 10 spies, other than Aaron and Caleb, were very spiritual people who did not want to face ordinary life as farmers in the land of Israel. They loved being in the desert, close to the sanctuary of the divine presence, and eating manna. They chose a spiritual path rather than away from the normal life. Joshua and Caleb, on the other hand, by contrast, recognized the virtue of being in the world, farming land, buying and selling, being a normal human being, and yet at the same time incorporating the healthy relationship with God in all that one does, as guided by the Torah. The answer is that it was specifically their heightened spiritual orientation that led them away and astray. They wished to experience life and pursue godliness unencumbered by any of the distractions of the material world. In the desert, they were protected by the clouds of glory, sustained by the manna and the well of Miriam, and all their physical needs were fully attended to. All of their time was spent in Torah study, meditation, and prayer. They were repulsed by the notion of entering the real world, where bread must be wrestled from the earth and life cannot be a heavenly paradise. In today's world, do we listen to the words of Adonai written in the Torah to guide us, or do we listen to the fear-mongering of our politicians who would have us believe that their way is the right way? Be careful of false prophets. Do we choose the life of work or just pure prayer? Can we find happy medium ground? Do we use and trust words of Adonai to guide us, or do we ignore them and go our own way? Do we expect Adonai to take care of all our needs, or do we have to work to maintain our sustenance? Using the word of Adonai as a guideline for the good life and not expect manna to fall from heaven. Which lifestyle is real and which is a pipe dream? Only you make that decision. Good Shabbos.
That short stand, I'll get it. I get it.
There you go. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Greetings from our board of directors. We're a small group tonight, a little more intimate. Tonight's oneg was coordinated by Mary Pinto, Mitch Braun, Bob Jarrett, Heather Greenfield, Sandra Heckler, Barbara Holtz, Beth Weinberg, and Lynn Wilk. Our lovely flowers are donated by Jonathan and Heather Greenfield in celebration of their JCMI family and their successful move to the new home. Current details of everything going on in congregational life can be found on our website, in our monthly newsletter, The Messenger, and in semi-weekly email notifications we send out to membership. But tonight, I remind everyone that our annual 4th of July picnic will be Friday, July 4th at 4 p.m., with services following right after. Please RSVP by June 25th. The Chess Club is here at JCMI every Tuesday from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please contact Irv Pavlov if you're interested. JCMI has Pony Canasta every Thursday at 12 p.m. here at JCMI. If you're interested in playing, contact Beth Weinberg. The Women's Book Club is around the building and on our website for the next season. The office is selling Memorial Yahrzeit candles if you have a need. Do not forget to bring in food for those in the community who are less fortunate when you come on Fridays, or leave a donation in the tzedakah box. And now, as we move to the conclusion of tonight's service, I invite to the beam our final honorees, Beth and Frank. Let us please reopen our prayer books to page 586 and rise together for Eleno.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
They had names like Auntie Bee and Aunt Laura and wore tight corsets. When you put your arms around them, you could feel the wires. They had papery skins, cheeks like moths' wings that trembled when you kissed them. Their husbands were dead, or they were called Sam or Arthur and wore hats even in summer. They smoked cigars that always went out, and they let them go out. The old people had candies in their pockets and Kleenex. They carried pictures of grandchildren and knew all the stories about who was related to whom and why, and remembered them. When I was a child, I was told all the stories again and again, who was related to whom, and why, and who died, and why, but I always forgot. Years later, I have no one to tell me these stories. I remember the ladies' perfumes, lilac, carnation, and rose. They smelled like sachets. And I remember arthritic fingers, wedding bands sunk in the flesh. I always imagined they'd have to have them cut off. They kept trying to decide whose eyes I had, whose nose, what were my talents. I'd listen. I didn't listen. Now I want to know. I want to know where I fit in that long line of descendants from the country of the old. Tonight, we offer Kaddish for those observing Shiva, Shloshim, or Avelut. For our past president, Ted Button, who passed away on June 15th. For our member, Dr. Marcia Rosenberg, who passed away on May 13th. Angelina Estrada, Yaron Lichinski, Sarah Milgram, Pamela Grayboff. And for our loved ones for whom we are observing Yortzeit. Pearl Broder, Herman Cohen, June Marie Duquette, Phyllis Pincus Marco, Frida Mudrick, Joan Feld, Milton Schwartz, Ann C. Singer, Robert Snyder, Beatrice Sugarman, Robert Thompson, Melanie Tuller. Is there anyone tonight who's observing Shiva, Shloshim, or Yortzeit? Please raise your hand. Please rise as we turn to page 598 in our prayer book, page 11 in the Satellite Siddur. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'alma divra kirusei v'amlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'mechon uv'chaye dekal beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mishmarach le'olam l'mea maya Yitbarach v'yitbarach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei kadisha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen.
To conclude this evening's service, in Mishkan Tefillah, we turn to page 625, and in the Satellite Siddur, page 12, for the responsive Adon Olam. אדון עולם,
Adon Olam,
אשר מלך,
Asher Malach,
בטרם כל,
B'Terem Kol,
יציר נברא,
Yitzir Nikra,
לעת נשא,
Eight Nasa,
וחפצו כל,
Chasa Kol,
אזי מלך שמו נקרא. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם,
Adon Olam,
אשר מלך,
Asher Malach,
בטרם כל,
B'Terem Kol,
יציר נברא,
Yitzir Nikra,
לעת נשא,
Eight Natsa,
וחפצו כל,
Chefetzo,
אזי מלך שמו נקרא. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמזרע. אדון עולם,
Adon Olam,
אשר מלך,
Asher Malach,
בטרם כל,
B'Terem Kol,
יציר נברא,
Yitzir Nikra,
לעת נשא,
Eight Nasa,
וחפצו כל,
Be'etza Kol,
אזי מלך שמו נקרא. Last verse. בידו הפקיד רוחי, בעת אישן ועירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמזרע. אדון עולם,
Adon Olam,
אשר מלך,
Asher Malach,
בטרם כל,
B'Terem Kol,
יציר נברא,
Yitzir Nikra,
לעת נשא,
Eight Nasa,
וחפצו כל,
Be'etza Kol,
אזי מלך שמו נקרא.
Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos,
Shabbat
everyone.
shalom. Good Shabbos. Some idiot didn't bring the cue sheet for this week. I had last week, so I didn't know what the month was, the day of the week it was, that was on the other sheet, so. It's Friday. You don't know which days are in the moon, so it's like the moon. So, yeah, rather than guessing. Yeah, numbnuts forgot the information. Doesn't belong on a Friday night.
Hello. Oh, it's still on. I'm sorry, what was that?